Today, we're taking aim at Amius. Hello everyone, Bront CatHerder here, and we're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and today we're going to look at Amius, look at this particular rotation, which is the first of the random rotations, so this rotation has happened before, but we're going to take a look at Amius on the hard, and we're going to see how I can tackle him with my account, give a couple of tips on how I chose to do the champions I chose for. I'll take a look at their stats once we're done with the run. We'll see if it runs on full auto or not. And overall, just talk a little bit about Amius and have some fun. But first, if you're ever interested in a little more about what's going on with Bront CatHerder, well, I'm 6'4", about 200. Wait, that's probably not what you're looking for. You can actually check out. I have a Discord that I'm fairly active in. I'll have news about my various video announcements. I'll have news about when I'm streaming. I'll have news when some of my friends are going streaming. Some other content creators as well. There's a lot of us that hang out there. We chat. We chat about Raid. We chat about things that are not Raid as well. So go check it out. It's a cool place to hang out. You get to know me a little bit more. You get to know the other guys that hang out with me a little bit more. And overall, join my community. And we like to have fun and support each other. So it's a great community. But you guys have been wonderful so far. So click that link below and give it a try. So let's go take a look at Amius. Now, I apparently have beaten him on the previous rotation. I have not beaten him on hard on every rotation on this account. There's the one rotation where I could not beat him on hard, but this is one of the ones I was able to do it on. Fairly simple team. We've got Artek, which does a lot of the damage. We've got Drexstar, who brings a lot of additional burns. Burns, I found, is one of the more reliable ways to kill the boss. And then I've gone with 3 healer revivers that give a decent amount of healing. 2 of them have a cleanse, which is very, very important. I want to avoid buffs as much as possible, but Elva's in a 6-piece protection set, so that helps quite a bit as well. But that's why I went with an Elva versus, say, a Duchess, which is an option on this account, because I didn't want the extra buffs from Duchess, and I like Elva's cools down better, and Elva does more healing than Duchess. So overall, Elva does a better job in this team. Now, if I wanted to speed this up, I could certainly try to remove one of the healer revivers and put in, say, a Rathalos, but having 2 single target healers and then having Arbiter for an AoE in case I need to bail out is fine. I haven't built any of these champions other than Drexstar specifically for this content. So we'll look at their builds in general. Raglan is a champion I used to use regularly for Bommel, and she's still kind of in that build, or at least a version of that build. Elva, I wanted to build her for Arena. I find I don't use her in Arena very much, but she's in protection gear and very fast. Artek I use in my Ice Golem dungeons, and Arbiter I still use in Arena, so she's built very fast and mostly aimed to be just very fast, but she's fairly tanky because of the other gear I was able to put on her. So we'll take a look at that, but let's hop into the boss. And first we're going to see if this team actually goes through on auto. So I'm going to turn my camera off and let this speed up. And we'll go and take a look at the boss when it's done if we manage to beat it. Yeah, that's not going to work. So on full auto, he was basically healing back up to full regularly, and eventually he wiped enough of the revivers that Artek was the only one that was left. So, since I've beaten this, I believe I've redone Artek, so he's got more healing than he used to have. So we're going to try this manually a little bit. And the reason we're going to try this manually is when you trigger a lot of the skills makes a huge difference. You don't want to have decrease attack on him when he's going to flip it to an increased attack. You want to avoid having heals on at certain times if you can. You want to space the heals out. You want to make sure your cleanses are available to cleanse at the right time. Overall, you just need to be very careful on when you do your attacks and damage. So we'll try this again in a bit of a montage format. I'm going to turn my camera off and run some of this manually. And when I get to key points, I will pop back on and tell you what I'm thinking. So first, I'm just going to show you the initial startup of this. So we like turn meter, so I'm going to start with Arbiter's A1. I don't want to have this decrease attack out when he flips around because he'll then turn the, or increase attack, because then he'll turn this into a decrease attack, and that powers up some of his abilities. That's not great. We also want to get the block debuffs out if we can, because he's going to start off with a stun ability. I don't want to use her heal. There's nobody that needs healing yet, so Raglan will just hit with her A1. We want to get some burns out, so we try to get some burns out with Artek, and then Drex does his attack. I don't want to use the revive. I don't need to decrease any buffs, so we'll just attack with the A1. And this is kind of why you want to deal with this as well, is there's a lot of skills that are just, you're just going to use them when you need them. So everyone could use a bit of a heal, so we'll drag one of her heals out right now. Ignite those burns. Another day 1 attack. Now Drex can hit with his A1, possibly putting more burns up. That's great. And this is kind of impressive. All right, so you see he just stunned everybody. We didn't have everybody available for a cleanse. And in fact, both my cleansers got stunned, which is a little annoying, but we can still increase the turn meter and be okay. Artek. We're going to increase the duration of that burn if we can. Perfect, instead of igniting it, because he's still going to take turns. A1 for Raglan also does the turn meter increase. Very nice. And this is pretty much how we're going to go. Now he's about to flip around, and if he flips around and I get out these increased speed and block debuffs, it's going to turn into a block buffs and a decreased speed. So I actually don't want to do that right now. So we'll do the A1. He'll ignite the burns. We're actually doing okay-ish on damage, but this is definitely going to take a little while. And there's your attack, so he should be flipping shortly. Again, we don't need to do that. See, now he flipped. Now you see he took that unprotected continual heal, turned that into a block healing. That's one of the problems, but that's where some of the cleanses can come in. Again, we like the turn meter and heal that Arbiter brings. We don't need to ignite to create burns, so I'll just ignite. Now we can do this cleanse and reversal. And this is basically how we're going to kind of do it. So I'm going to turn the camera back off, and we'll speed through this a little bit and see how this works. But basically, I take this one at a time. When we get him down low, I'll hop back on again, and we can talk about how to kill him. Because you have to make sure you kill him when he's not in this red form right here. I would tell you to look for the red sky, but that's bugged. The red sky is supposed to be when he's in his red form, and then there's the normal sky when he's in his other form. It stops changing at some point in time because it's broken. And Polarium, that's one of the things that they unfortunately tend not to fix. But all right, I'll be right back with you guys in a little bit. All right, and we're back again. Right after I mentioned, let's see if we can get him down to the end, everybody wiped. So we're going to try this again. And that's kind of the way this fight works, is there's a lot of RNG involved. His skills are very difficult to understand. He seems to do things that don't make a lot of sense. He'll take a bunch of extra turns when he starts killing people and just go on a rampage. And overall, I think he's a very poorly designed boss. So if you're struggling against him, don't feel too bad. I'm struggling against him on hard with a pretty endgame account. I know my other alt account, which is also fairly endgame, cannot do him on hard. It just can't. It doesn't have the gear. It doesn't have the champions. So if you can't do him on hard, that's fine. Maybe you end up doing him on normal. And normal, he's much easier, but he is still very, very difficult. So let's see if we can close him out. All right, we're getting very close. Unfortunately, he is in the wrong form, and when he transfers back, he is probably going to heal. So hopefully we can make it around alive to the next stage. And instead, he's going to kill Artek. But he just transformed, and we're not 100% dead yet. So that is a good start. Arbiter does not have her revive on cooldown, so that's going to be problematic. So we may just have to sacrifice this, hope that Arbiter survives through it. Get that heal out. Get everybody moving a little bit faster, because we need to get some heals out. There we go. Got the revive. She got the revive reset. That's interesting, and he didn't go off. And hopefully we have enough Overall support to stay alive. Let's extend the burns and keep the other one alive. All right, and now we're back in play. Unfortunately, he's going to transform very shortly, so unless this kills him, which there's a good chance it might, because Rathalos can sometimes break off for 1,000,000 damage, we weren't lucky. Now he's flopped, and we're probably going to kill him. In fact, he's going to die and revive on his next turn, which is fine. Because he's going to take a turn and immediately die when he gets the burns. So let's get some speed stuff out there and just be ready to deal with it. All right, so we killed him ourselves. He's back up. Now we can burn him again, and now we can try to get around to doing enough damage to killing him. Okay, so we're giving this a try, and I've got Ornn in there instead of Artak, and it's going about the same so far, but it's been a little bit harder of a grind to get him down. So the good news is I've got some poisons out on him right now. He's probably about to change, so we'll see how he's healing after that. But we'll see if Ornn is enough to push this over the top. I like the poisons and the passive damage. The big problem I have with Ornn is he is not a 100% poison placer under any circumstances, and his A2 that just ignites the poison damage feels like a waste when I'd rather get more poisons up with his A1. So overall, I'm not a huge fan of Ornn. He does okay. The big thing he does is he gets super tanky, and that's the big reason I brought him in, is the extra damage from having the poisons, getting the poisons on, was going to do more than Artek activating the burns, particularly because I was struggling for Artek to actually get the burns on the champion because he's built for Ice Golem, and he's got a very tight build, and I don't quite have enough accuracy for him to land that all the time. So let's see if that's this is the solution. Hey, we just hit for a very large amount from Rathalos. We've got a shot at beating this. Let's see if we can do it. Get those poisons out, and I think we've got this. This is pretty amazing. Yep. There we go. That is him defeated in 15 minutes and 52 seconds on, I believe, my 7th or 8th attempt of this, several of them having gone over 10 minutes. This has been a colossal, I don't want to say waste of time because, you know, it's playing a game, but this boss is way overtuned. This team shouldn't have struggled that badly with the boss. Some of the mechanics just don't seem to make a lot of sense, and there's so much randomness in this boss. It is really kind of a crapshoot to see if you can even get through it. And look at this. I've gotten a bunch of 5-star gear on top of it for all of that. I've gotten better gear off of the normal boss. Now, it's all mythical. It might be good. I'll certainly go through it and take a look. But here's a team that works. The burns did a lot of damage. You can see Drexthar there did a bunch of damage. Elva didn't do much damage. He's mostly there for the healing and the cleanses. Arbiter was there for some clutch revives, I showed you. Ornn did a decent chunk of damage as well. In fact, he did more than Artek was doing, so that's good. So let's go take a look and see what these champions are built. All right, so we got Rathalos here. Rathalos has the Heaven Cast Blessing. He is in Savage plus Speed. He is built to a very, very fast 260 speed, 284 crit damage, 5,700 attack. Not a lot of resistance or accuracy because he doesn't need it. He's actually got a decent amount of HP. He gets powered up with buffs, which helps work with his kit. That's one of the reasons that Heavencast is really good with him. And I've got this counterattack ring that actually came in clutch a couple times as well. Overall, he was one of the better damage dealers. That certainly helped. Arbiter, nothing particularly special. She's in super fast, okay accuracy, decent amount of tank. It's an arena build. She's got the reset on here. That doesn't actually seem to trigger his passive sometimes, which was very confusing. Probably that would have been better to have taken off if that was one of the frustrating parts of the boss, which it certainly was. Drex is in a mishmash of gear to get him relatively fast. I feel bad that I actually had a 2-star blessing on him that I did not actually have. So let's get him in my collection and pick a blessing for him quickly. Blessings that would have helpful in this boss. I think cruelty would have been helpful because that would have helped us do just a little bit more damage. Brimstone would not have been bad. In fact, we're going to throw Brimstone on him because Brimstone can add an awful lot of damage. If I'd had Brimstone out there, that may have helped an awful lot. So his total stats are 227 speed, 440 accuracy. I use his speed lead, which is an additional 50% accuracy because not everybody had enough accuracy. Overall, he's built to be fairly tanky with some defense and HP. He is a defense champ, but I built him with more HP than defense because I wanted him to survive, so I needed a mixture of HP and defense, so they're both kind of high. I didn't really aim for some damage. The fact that I got about 49% crit rate means he crits occasionally. He can hit very hard if you can hit the damage, but his damage idea was getting burns out by being hit, as well as his A1 dropping a bunch of burns, and every once in a while his A2 getting a decrease attack out. That's where Drex is valuable. Elva, we've got 6-piece protection, so she gets a 50% chance for stuff to be protected. 268 speed, lots of resistance. The resistance helped because she was resisting some of the stuns and some of the sleeps, although not the sleeps, because the sleeps are irresistible. And that's another frustrating part about this boss. There's so much stuff that's just irresistible. It doesn't matter that she's built in resistance for about half of the debuffs he's thrown out there. And then finally, Ornn. It's apparently missing an amulet. That's what I get for not looking at him. 417 accuracy, 66k HP, 3000 defense, 236 speed. Part of the reason that Ornn is very good is with his passive, when poison debuffs are activated, he gets up to 25% additional defense and HP. So he ends up being very tanky and doesn't die very easily, even against the boss that'll just manage to one-hit somebody. So overall, that's one of the things that he's particularly good at, as well as a 50 bookable to 75% chance of placing 2 poisons and a 25% poison sensitivity. The big problem I have with this is even with Master Hexer to make this a 80%, or Sniper actually is the one that makes this an 80%, it's still only an 80% chance for the poisons, and it's very, very difficult to get a lot of poisons out in him. His A1 is also a 15% chance, bookable 25% chance, 30 with Sniper, to get a poison out on each hit. So as far as a poisoner goes, he's not great. The advantage that he has is because he's constantly healing with his A3, and he's constantly increasing his defense and HP. He's very tanky, so that helps him survive. He did actually have some cruelty as well, so that actually helped with the defense as well. So that was my Animus team to beat hard. Very, very frustrating. Very interesting experience. What do I think of Amius? I don't like the boss. I think that he is way too difficult and way too fiddly. And I understand they want to make a boss that's kind of engaging and sometimes requires manual. And I don't mind requiring manual, but the fact that it required multiple 15 to 20-minute runs before I finally got one that had just the right amount of RNG to go my way to win is very, very, very frustrating. And the fact that I believe this boss revived 3 times when I killed him before I finally got him in the right rotation. And it literally happened to be that Rathalos lined up with his A2 and did 1,000,000 damage, which knocked him almost dead, and I had enough damage left over to finish him. So it is what it is. That's what the boss is right now. I've talked about nerfs in a previous video. Nerfing some of the bosses, I think, is in Polaria's best interest. I think Amius needs a look at. I think he is too difficult. I think he's also too difficult on the normal level because it takes some pretty insane gear to get this on the normal level, let alone the hard level. And I don't necessarily mind the gear thresholds. I just don't like that combined with the very specific skills you need to deal with him and the fact that it punishes you for building champions that is perfectly fine to build in any other content with the reset skills. If they're going to change anything about it, I would change that the reset skills are the only thing that actually affect his ability to take an instant turn. Artifacts, masteries, don't make me redo my masteries on champions just for Amius, because I'm not going to do it. That's a lot of gems. That's asking a lot of players, and that's basically making it behind a paywall, because at some point in time it's going to cost 1,500 gems to redo masteries on 5 champions, and that's nuts. So, anyway, not to sound too bitter, because, we try to keep things positive in this channel, but not my favorite boss, but hopefully this gives you some insight into strategies you might be able to use for Amius. Till later, I'm Bront CatHerder.